Back to the... I have always found David Icke and his work fascinating. I have followed him on and off since his book, The Robots' Rebellion, was released in the earlier parts of the 1990s. I read it at the same time as I read The Gods of Eden by William Bramley and William Cooper's Behold a White Horse. I believe Icke has done a lot to reveal things that are going on behind the scenes, and his solutions are often right on. I am even ready to adopt his reptilian theories to a great extent. Back to the Moon Matrix. When I read Icke's book on the subject, I found it very intriguing and possibly true. If it's true that the reptilian hyperversals Icke is talking about are creating our reality by holograms projected from the moon and thus keep us in a time loop, the same entities could possibly also be in charge of the Earth's astral planes. I am surprised that Icke hasn't made that connection, but on the other hand, perhaps he is working on that in his next book. The experiences Dr. Newton's subjects have had could then be part of the programming, and the subjects would never know. They will all simply tell the truth from how they experienced their afterlife. They are unable to penetrate the hologram because they are not even aware of that it exists. 5.4L. Ron Hubbard and Robert Morningsky. I have no doubts that Ron Hubbard had inside information. A lot of former Scientologists who have left the church have become powerful whistleblowers, and quite a few of them worked close to or even together with LRH#. Many of them, in addition to researcher and author Russell Miller, who wrote the book Barefaced Messiah, The True Story of Ron Hubbard, are saying that LRH once worked for Navy intelligence. Something the church eventually had to admit in 1969, although their version is that he did so to be able to destroy evil secret societies, like the OTO Pasadena Lodge in California, run by Jack Parsons in the 1940s by infiltrating them. What they failed to tell us is that the OTO and many other secret societies already are/were part of the intelligence community. LRH certainly ran that lodge down by allegedly stealing both Parsons' girlfriend and his yacht, and also got away with some of Parsons' money. Jack Parsons, who was a well-known scientist, eventually blew himself up accidentally in his laboratory. Still, LRH refers to both Aleister Crowley and John Whitesides Parsons as his dear friends in Scientology lectures and a policy letter from the late 1950s. I also got confirmed by researcher Bill Cooper in person in 2001 that Scientology is a Navy intelligence project which went beyond any expectations. Bill, himself a former Navy intelligence officer, was shot to death by Arizona police outside his home shortly after. I'd like to look at the research of Ron Hubbard and Robert Morningsky side by side. Although Hubbard never mentions the Greys per se, but Morningsky does, the invaders' force could be one and the same. If there is something about the negative afterlife experiences I may consider having some truth to it, it would be the Grey agenda. Again, I need to emphasize that we're here talking about not all Greys, but the faction that is abducting us and manipulating our genes without our direct consent. Hubbard is going into some details about how these implants are being done, which I find quite interesting, plus that he is mentioning Mars as an implant station together with the Pyrenees. Both the Pleiadians, Robert Morningsky, and many others including Sitchin have mentioned lately that Mars has long been used for genetic engineering and is inhabited, or at least was until very recently. Hubbard could have made Mars up in his imagination, and this is of course possible, but if so, there are a lot of things Hubbard made up in his imagination, which later showed to be true. I believe Hubbard had some real inside information, or perhaps he gained some of his information from early versions of remote viewing. After all, the OT levels in Scientology are to a large degree about remote viewing, and many famous remote viewers like Putnam and Ingo Swann were OT3 Scientologists of the old school. Robert Morning Sky, like Hubbard, had some serious critics. Morning Sky had his share in the late 1990s. He was so heavily criticized that he decided to withdraw from public appearances and thus disappeared from the scene for over 10 years, until just recently, when he was interviewed on The Veritas Show. Worth listening to as well is an interview from 1996 called Star Elders. But by now we know how it works. If you really want to bring somebody down or out of business, so to speak, all you have to do is to consistently and persistently point out the things that are wrong, magnify the errors out of proportion, and then suggest that it is all mis or disinformation. If we fall for that, we're on a non-productive journey. No one will tell you the whole truth about anything. We have to figure it out for ourselves by picking a gem here and a gem there and sort them by colors, figuratively speaking. I believe Morning Sky did a good job with what he had available when researching about our ancestors, the Anunnaki and the Orion Reptilians. Much of the information supposedly came from a star visitor his Hopi forefathers saved from a UFO crash, but Robert also did his own research to put things together. He is telling a pretty interesting story in the Terra Papers, particularly about the time before the Anunnaki, the Orions, and the Greys came to Earth. He is going back in time and deep digs into the Anunnaki royal bloodline, going back way before King Anu. When scrutinizing his work as a whole and compare it to more recent, consistent sources, not everything Morning Sky was telling us holds water, but I am happy to have read him and listened to him, because he has a lot to teach us so we can be able to put these very confusing subjects on UFOs and aliens into perspective. It's not getting easier as government disinformation agents are coming out and muddle the water. I have no solid proof to present about the Greys being the invader force, implanting us and keeping us ignorant between lives, in spite of what other researchers have claimed. The only solid evidence I have is what Dr. Newton has given us through his research. We may and should speculate if there is more to it, and here are some questions we need to have answered. 1. Although most people's experiences from the afterlife are pleasant, is there a force controlling time/space? If so, is that force benevolent or malevolent? Are the positive experiences just a way to keep us attached to a matrix system which is controlled by alien beings with a not-so-benevolent agenda? 2. Some sources, like the Pleiadians, say that we go wherever our beliefs take us after we die. If we believe we go to hell, something corresponding to our belief system is going to manifest. If we believe in heaven, we will experience something similar to that. Therefore, it's very important to decide where we want to go and what to experience. This makes sense on some level, although it looks like almost all of Dr. Newton's subjects go to the same or a similar place. 3. Quite a few of Dr. Newton's subjects describe time/space as being curved, which indicates that it's a sphere and therefore finite. What exactly is this sphere?